What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing out there? Let's play the music. Keep playing for a little bit there. Calm ourselves down. It's going to be an amazing Wednesday night, guys. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in to Around the League with Ash. Obviously, some massive stories coming out at the moment. Obviously, Origin time going on at the moment. So there's so many different stories. A couple of little cheeky ones I wanted to throw out there. I know you Blue fans are ready and willing for this Origin, but a couple of cheeky stories popping out about certain players in love with the old Maroon jersey. So we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Get your thoughts overall as Blues fans on how you feel about that. Also going into a couple of the injury news around the camp. Obviously with the Maroons also saying that they got a little bit of a stomach bug going around camp. Obviously Harry Grant went down with a stomach bug, so we'll go through that, my thoughts overall. Then we're going to roll into my thoughts overall on both these two teams and, where I think that both their strengths and weaknesses are. Because I'm not going to do a hot and cold this week. I thought the best way to do it would be also just talking about our Origin, because I think that's the biggest thing going on at the moment. And then last but not least, obviously a lot of people love the Punters Paradise. So we're going to be bringing back the Punters Paradise again another week, guys. So we're going to bring out my tips for the weekend, how I did last weekend with my tips, and also my value bet for the weekend. I only got one value bet this weekend, but this one is going to be a juicy one. I really do think that it can really come off for you guys. But thank you so much for everyone in the channel right now. Jazzy, good to see you in there, my brother. 10 people watching currently right now. Please make sure if you enjoy the content that we are bringing you on wahs.up TV to like and subscribe. It won't be a massive long episode tonight. Obviously, there's not too much news out there, but there's definitely some really good topics to really get around and talk about with all you guys out there as well. So feel free, if you got any thoughts around what's going on at the moment, go chuck them in the chat down below as well. Jazzy, haha, the old bug. In Queensland Team Chestnut. Yeah, we've done it before and we'll do it again, because you know what? We are underdogs. So we may as well get straight into it. Obviously the big Origin news, because Origin is coming up so quickly. And the first thing I did want to talk about is with the Blues camp overall, and obviously the big notable names that are hampered with injury at the moment in the Blues camp. None other than number 1, then number 7, Nicho Hynes, but, still sidelined there with a calf injury, yet to train with the squad from what I've heard. They're just waiting on those boys' recovery and all that. So overall, not the best signs there. Obviously, Nicho Hynes didn't finish out the game against the Panthers due to a head knock and not coming back on because of the calf injury. So really, it's up in the air at the moment whether he's going to be playing Origin at the moment. I do think he's probably going to get all the way through, if it was really up to him. Like, there is rumors, though, that Matt Burton's getting held in camp and the doggies want to bring him back after camp and that, but apparently they're trying to hold on to him for as long as possible due to what's going on at the moment with Nicho Hynes. But I do think that he'll probably overcome this and play his first starting Origin game in that 7 jersey. So I'm really excited to see how he goes out there. And if not, as I said before, you got players like, Matt Burton and Luke Keary to replace him. From all the news coming out, Luke Keary will probably go back to the Roosters this weekend. That's from the news I've seen personally. And Matt Burton's the one getting held around camp currently right now. So thank you everyone else jumping in right now. Tahi, bro, Jacko here. Again, guys, feel free to jump into the chat. I know you guys do. You guys are amazing in that. But also, yeah, if you got any thoughts, please make sure you chuck them in the chat down below. As I said, it's not going to be a massive show tonight. It's going to be a real good one, though, because a lot of really good news coming around and a couple of nice topics I want to get with you. Obviously, the other injury news that is coming into camp, another player that was hampered with injury coming to camp is Liam Martin. So, obviously, Liam Martin coming into camp with a hamstring injury that he's yet to get over. A lot of news coming around at the moment that he's missed out on that first training session as well and still waiting to go. But a lot of big news also, too, that Mitch Barnett will be the player that's been held on for just in case Liam Martin's not able to get through his duties in training and that. I'm really excited for that. Obviously, being a Warriors fan, being a Queensland fan of Mitch Barnett scares me. Like, I love Mitch Barnett as a player. I know what he can bring to a team, being a Warriors fan. And I would, if there's any other player you would carry on, he'd be the best replacement for someone like Liam Martin. Very similar, as in, the way they take their football. Very aggressive players. They love to turn the game with their defense. I think he's probably the best swap there. I would have fully argued to have Mitch Barnett on the bench to start with anyway, over players like, Hudson Young, even like Spencer to pinch. But even though if you look at the bench of the New South Wales bench, you got Isaiah Yo's a definite for me. He's got to stay on the bench. Then you got Spencer Leniu, obviously, as a middle forward. The other two, Olakawatu and Hudson Young. For me, Hutto was the only one that I'm like, I'll switch him out and put a middle forward in there with Mitch Barnett, but that is still waiting to be seen because obviously Liam Martin is hampered with a hamstring injury. So guys, make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall on Nicho Hynes and Liam Martin, and whether you think they are going to overcome these injuries to play Origin next Wednesday night. So massive news there. And obviously, before I get over to the Maroons and what's really going on in the Maroons, because there's really not much other news coming out of the Maroons camp currently right now, but the big one for the Blues, a lot of news coming out around. A lot of people have obviously got into Haumole Olakau'atu's old social media posts around the Queensland Maroons. And I want to get your guys' thoughts as well on what your thoughts are on having, obviously, Jerome Luai has been caught out, saying that his love for his Maroons, and I don't know whether that was because of maybe selection issues earlier on in his career and that, but Haumole Olakau'atu apparently grew up as a Maroons fan. That's a really interesting one, and does that bother Blues fans out there? Like, for me, honestly, I know that any player that's going to wear that jersey is going to be professional enough and they're going to go out there and do some damage. So for me, I don't think this is really big news overall. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are want to have their players that have full love for the jersey. They want to play for the jersey. It's kind of in the in-between sort of phase of do we have a player here that's, his talent, potential, that's what you want there? Or do you want a guy that's just wants to bleed for the jersey? They love the jersey. That's what they wanted to do since they were a little boy. That's the big thing here. That's the real big, the double-edged sword that we're playing with Olakau'atu. Obviously, used to be a Maroons fan. So I honestly think this is really nothing news, in my opinion. Nothing to if it was a Maroons, I don't know too many Maroons players that would come out and say they're Blues fans. Obviously, Luke Keary, I'm pretty sure he tried to play for Maroons at one point there, whatever. But you know what I mean? I don't think that as long as they go out and they do the jersey proud and they represent Queensland to the best of their ability, it doesn't really bother me. Obviously, they have the Queensland residents, the New South Wales residents sort of sides as well that, I'm guessing there are a lot of people that, maybe not grew up loving the jersey as in being a massive fan of it, but being around and living in that area, playing for that jersey and still doing amazing jobs there. So for me, this is really not massive news, but definitely another thing to talk about with you guys in the chat down below. So feel free to jump in and tell me your thoughts overall on Olakau'atu being a Maroons fan. Shout out to all you Blues fans in the chat. This always seems to happen, unfortunately. It's so funny, man. It's so funny. And then moving on to my beloved Maroons. So the only big news really currently at the moment of the Maroons is Harry Grant still not being able to train with the squad due to a stomach bug. So that has come out recently that, he probably carried it into camp. He has been removed I'm pretty sure he's isolated in the camp currently right now, so no one else gets sick at the moment. Definitely not the most positive thing overall, but I'm sure he's going to get over his stomach bug like every other news that ever came out of, Queensland Origin camp about, illnesses and stuff like that. They usually overcome them, and I'm sure he'll play to his best of his ability. Again, I don't think this is crazy news. I think this just happens in Origin every single year, but, that's it. Yeah, Tahi bro pregnant, that's why. maybe. And he's, Mitch Barnett. Oh, I like that. Mitch Barnett. I haven't heard that before. That's a good one. Obviously, we heard the Kurt Kate Wah, Mitch Barnett for 7. Bro, imagine. Could you imagine? Hey, he's got a goal kicking game in him. You know what I mean? He can goal kick, and I'm sure defensively he'll do a job there. I don't know how you're going to look in attack, but probably just run it straight, Mitch. Run it straight. But yeah, other than that, guys, there really isn't too much news going around Origin camp currently at the moment. You got obviously the big news of Selwyn Cobbo coming into off the bench, playing that 17 jersey, and Billy coming out and saying he'll just do a job there. He'll be more of a cover for our back line, but also he may get a shot through the middle. Selwyn Cobbo actually came out and said, he played his juniors through that with that number 13 in the locker in the middle. Obviously, he's a big enough body to really do to handle himself there. We've seen in the past, we put on, Kalen Ponga, Cooper Cronk, all these sort of guys that have come off the bench and played for the middle for their, starting Origin gigs there, and done that to very high standards. Kalen Ponga, in my opinion, had one of his better games, especially through the middle in that game there. And I'm sure that, the bigger body, I'm sure Selwyn Cobbo will do a job if we have to put him into the middle. I don't think he'll be in the middle for long periods or anything like that. I don't want to see a full game with, Selwyn Cobbo at 13. That's not what I'm looking at. But I'm sure that if there was any sort of problems or anything like that, or he doesn't have to get game time on the edge, we can play him through the middle and get some blood flowing in his legs, and hopefully, pull out some special stuff. So that's the news I'm coming with you today, guys. Obviously, not too many other news around Origin. My last little bit of news that I want to get through too, before I jump over to you guys and really talk to you guys about my thoughts overall with the both Origin squads going into this game, my strengths, my weaknesses. We're going to touch on a little bit of NRL news, and the latest NRL news is right now is breaking. Is PNG going to be the next team, obviously our 18th team for the NRL? So there's been a lot of speculation on who's going to be the next team in the NRL. Obviously we got 17 teams currently in the competition, and you got the Dolphins that have come in and shown that they can, there's enough talent in the league that they can do, they can play, fairly high class football. Obviously last year not making the 8 and that, but had a lot of injury troubles that have really hampered their depth and that. But coming into this year, have really grown into a really good side overall. They were a top 4 side. I'm pretty sure they still are a top 4 side currently right now after, obviously getting beat on the weekend. So yeah, they're still a top 4 side, 7 wins, 4 losses. They've shown that you can do that being a new side. Coming into competition, you can find talent, and, having a coach like Wayne Bennett definitely helps. But Papua New Guinea, what's your guys' thoughts on Papua New Guinea? Do you reckon that should be the way to go? When that first came out, my first honest thoughts on Papua New Guinea, if we could put a team over there, really, will it flourish? Will it become something that we, the game will invest in and get a ton of money back? I was kind of either way with it. I can see the positives in it. Obviously, Papua New Guineans love rugby league. That's their national sport. They die for it. And I know from being a content creator, with the on TikTok and stuff like that, I think my highest geographically, how do you say that word? Geographically, geograph is actually Papua New Guineans. And it's awesome to see, they love their rugby league football. As soon as you start talking about Justin Olam, Xavier Coates, boys of this sort of names, they absolutely love it. So I'm sure they're going to get behind a team and go crazy. The only setback is the amount of money that is actually in Papua New Guinea, obviously being, a third world country, and that, the funding is coming from the Australian government from all the news stories coming out today. I think it was a $600 million plan with the Australian taxpayer money to invest. Yes, so $600 million from Australian taxpaying money to make this game grow over there and, get infrastructure. I think it'll be awesome. The other way you can look at it too, guys, is it's going to be awesome for Papua New Guinea to have jobs, you know what I mean? If you're going to have an NRL team, obviously there's so many other things that you can build out there, and you can really maybe help their funding and money, start circulating in Papua New Guinea and really help out a lot of really down areas over there. So there's some positives and negatives either way. I don't know if we're going to make big investments and big, money back in Papua New Guinea. I don't think that's the way to go there. But if you're thinking about the cultural change, I reckon that would be the massive point for the NRL to go to Papua New Guinea. Shout out to Levon, Caboolture's finest. Big up, everybody. Thank you so much, Levon. Obviously, this is I had a massive afternoon. I was running around trying to get all this stuff ready for my stream tonight. And, I appreciate you coming through, my bro. I really do apologize for my last minute sort of story upload and stuff like that. But we are here and we're ready to go. Jackson Ford, did you see Barney is in a box seat to replace Liam Martin? Yeah, brother. We just touched on that just before. Again, there wouldn't be a better replacement in my eyes for Liam Martin than Mitch Barnett. They're I'd say that Liam Martin has a lot more shine at the moment because of all the stuff he's done, with recent in the game, 3 premierships, all that sort of stuff. But, if we're going for like type of player, you're going to go effort on effort. You got the aggression both these boys play with. I think they're so similar in a way. Obviously Mitch Barnett's the bigger body, but, Liam Martin, it feels right for, the Blues. If they're going to take out Liam Martin, put Mitch Barnett in there. As I said before, I kind of was swaying towards Mitch Barnett over Hudson Young on the bench. Jacko here. Yeah, back to the Papua New Guinea news. Why PNG? Sure, we love league. Sure, they love league and are fanatical, but it seems the government money being a main attraction. How will they attract players to live in Port Moresby? That's a whole different thing too, Jacko. And you got a great point there. That's my whole thing. There's there's two ways to look at it. There's that way of there's got to be a lot of work to be done for this to happen and this to be profitable. Like, again, you touched on the main point there. Players to go to live in PNG, if there was any sort of way that was ever going to happen, you got to think of the players are going to Papua New Guinea is a beautiful place, right? But it is a third world country. It's if you look at Samoa, Tonga, the islands and stuff, they're not first world countries. What we're living in currently right now in Australia, there's not as many benefits over there. So to really lure over players, it's either they're going to have a connection with the land. So you got your Xavier Coates, you got your Justin Olems, you got players like that. Even bringing over you got Liam Horn that's playing Q Cup, and I think he's over in the Super League currently right now. Lockie Lamb, you can try and build around those guys and really say that some of their national team maybe fill in there, but it's going to be tough in that aspect of it, bro. I do agree. But if they get it right, I'm sure it'll be a massive tick for the NRL as well, as in just a cultural difference. You know what I mean? What they could do in Papua New Guinea, the love they can get, and also just as an overall news story for the NRL to make that work would be a massive boom for the NRL in the international news, not just, around Australia and New Zealand. So there's two ways to look at it. I'd love to see it happen. Again, I don't see that much profit in it for us comparatively, as you've seen from going to Redcliffe for the Dolphins. They already had the funding behind them. They already became the richest league, richest club in the league when they took over. This is not going to be that. This is going to be a ton of work. And as I said before, $600 million of Australian government money to go into fund this over 10 years. So that's a ton of money. It's definitely a big risk to take, especially when you're looking at all other options of, Perth and stuff like that. It's a really tough one. Shout out Rugby League History. Appreciate you, my bro. Appreciate you coming through, my man. Up the wires 95. What's happening? Jacka here. Samoa, Tonga don't have the crime problems of PNG. I'm not 100% sure on that, my bro. I'm not 100% sure. I probably not as bad, honestly. Yeah, I guess, but still, we're still talking about the amount of funding and stuff like that going to all these countries. They're all very similar in that sort of sense of they are all third world countries, if you're being honest. Tell you, bro, pretty scary, yeah. Rugby League history, I always thought Perth were going to be the next team. I thought they were in a shoe-in. There was all the news coming out. This is what, it was so interesting to see this news coming out today too of, Perth looked like they were going to be in the box seat for that 18th team. They had talk around the North Sydney Bears being the new side over in Perth and being the Perth Bears or whatever they were going to base them as. And then you hear today, the deal has been done. Coming out everywhere about PNG. I don't know if the deal has fully been done, it's been announced, obviously saying that, but that the government are on board and want to, start funding this sort of opportunity here. But yeah, I was with you, Rugby League history. I thought Perth was definitely going to be the next little growth before we go again to Papua New Guinea, and even other maybe going to New Zealand as well. I think we need to still build pathways and all that in New Zealand and continue to grow with the Warriors. And being a Warriors fan, I feel like that will oversaturate a lot of our talent as well. But then again, it may do really wonders for New Zealand again as well. An area that is proven that rugby league is starting to grow there. It's starting to take over in some areas, over rugby union in some areas. So it could have been a missed opportunity there too from the rugby league, from the NRL to go to New Zealand and have another team there and really stamp their authority against rugby union. And rugby union, we're never really looking at Papua New Guinea as any sort of option there too. So, there's a lot of caveats to all this. There's a lot of options you could have took. But again, if you hold on to the cultural difference they're going to make here, it's significant. But if you look at if it's the smartest decision on the NRL, it's still a wait and see sort of prospect for me. So I agree with all you guys' thoughts here. Jacka here. You may not 100% sure I am. The crime rate in PNG is a huge worry for anyone going there. You need to live in a gated community and is at your huge risk. Yeah, that sucks to hear. Up the Wahs 95, South Island gear for W Bras. Yeah, I love that. Really hope New Zealand does acquire a second team within the next 20 teams. PVL is planning to have, by 2030. Yeah, exactly. That was all the news that, he plans to have 20 teams. And I love the thought of like having another New Zealand team. Like if you actually think about like, the opportunities you could have in New Zealand, especially what the Warriors are starting to do now, like there's an opportunity that you could really give it to rugby union. Like I feel like, the way the rugby leagues place themselves in the sporting market at the moment is to fight against rugby union, AFL, stuff like that. To do that, like go to New Zealand and, take over like rugby union's motherland, you know what I mean? Like the heartland of rugby union. That would be massive. But yeah, I see more opportunities in New Zealand. Like I totally agree with you guys, but yeah, it just seems to be the way they're going with Papua New Guinea, and I guess it's a wait and see. Tell you, bro, haven't watched any documentaries on PNG in a few years. Yeah, I haven't really watched too much either. But yeah, hopefully, like, the funding that's going into the country now, like, hopefully that helps a little bit too, maybe with the crime rates and like getting things in order. But again, it's a lot easier said than done. Rugby league history. I just thought with them taking state of origin games there, double headers, night competition, regular seasons, that Perth would get it. Yeah, 100%. I'm completely with you there. Rugby league history, and let's bring back the nines, huh? Like I want to see all the little things like that. Like give Auckland back the nines, please. I want to see that. That's what I want to see in rugby league. I miss the nines competition. I know it probably wasn't as feasible for the players and, with their off season and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, a couple of players definitely pulled out, but I enjoyed the nines competitions, like, and it really grew a lot of like, interest in New Zealand. I thought when we had the Auckland Nines, and even when they took it to Perth with the international stuff and that, I thought it had a lot of interest and it did really, really well, but maybe I was wrong. But yeah, I agree. Like when I saw Perth get a lot of those sort of rights, state of origin games lately and that, I would have thought that that's the area they want to grow and really compete with AFL over there. That's the big thing too. So Jacko here, Christchurch could be an option. They're building a roof stadium with a rectangular field. Looks like perfect. Yep. Yeah, nice. Tahi, bro, does that mean that WAHS own Wellington? Rugby history. Perth is a very competitive market, though. They are AFL mad. Plus, you have cricket, football, Perth Wildcats, and basketball. Even rugby union has a presence there. And yeah, that would have been a thought to me, like for them to stamp, put their flag in the ground and say, rugby league's coming here. And with all the buzz going around rugby league currently right now, I think they had the opportunity to do something special there. But they've chosen, at the moment, by the looks of it, they're choosing PNG. So we'll have to see how that turns out. Jose, good to see you, my bro. Appreciate you coming through the other night too. And yeah, thank you for coming through tonight as well. Rikers, what's going on? So which teams do we want to lose the most, since we have no team to cheer for this week? So my eyes are all set on the Origin currently right now, but if we're going over like rugby league, like, this weekend of rugby league, I respect the Roosters, but growing up, I've never liked the Roosters. Like, I think it's just more of the fact of like, they are the glamour club. They are the, like, the big club that gets what they want and all that sort of stuff. And they've been successful. So, I'd love to see the Cowboys get over them. Being at $5.10, like the players out, I don't see it. Would love to see the Dragons get over the Panthers, but again, I don't really see it. Even though the Panthers are running pretty much their second grade squad, there's a lot of talent, and I can't wait to talk to you guys a little bit about the Panthers talent coming through when we go up to my punter's paradise. But other than that, yeah, I hope, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really had too much thought on like who I want winning or losing. I'm just focused on Origin and want my Maroons to get up, baby. That's what I want to see. All right, guys, last little thoughts on that. We're going to move on to my thoughts overall. Back to a little bit of Origin before we get into my punter's paradise for the weekend. We'll go through my tips of the weekend. We'll go through every sort of game. But before we get into that, I just want to give you a couple of things I've looked into just recently before I jumped on about both these sides and where I think their strengths and weaknesses are. So touching on the New South Wales Blues, guys, obviously the big names that we saw, the first names that we saw in the team lists is, no Teddy, they got Dylan Edwards, right? Brian Toto still stays in his spot. Zach Lomax is in his spot. But when you look at that complete back line in general, you got your two centers there too. You just know that they have a game plan to play direct, play fast, play athletic, like big bodies, strong bodies. And I took a look at their back three, and it's just as a back three, their combined average meters, guys, comparatively to Queensland. And you look at it as like 206 average run meters with all those back three, add them all together, then, divided by three, and you get your average run meters. Like Brian Toto's run meters is on a different level. Even like, Dylan Edwards, and even Zach Lomax is having an incredible year this year within the amount of effort and work rate he gets out of his back end. 206 average run meters they're bringing into Origin this year. That is a massive, massive tick for the New South Wales Blues. The athleticism they have out of their back end, I feel like that's definitely a big point that Madge is going to drive home in this game. And especially when you look at the rest of their forward pack, they're all defensive beasts. Well, majority of them. You got Payne Haas that can be the battering ram. Angus Crichton's really good at running lines, getting on the edge too. And Liam Martin can do both sides of things, but I can really see this being those back three, even those other, the other players, that complete back line, just running through the middle of the Maroons, getting good run meters, getting good field position, and playing off the back of that. And comparatively to Queensland, only 146 run meters on average with those Queensland back three. So Walshy is not a notable high run work rate sort of fullback. Obviously, he does a ton of work due to try assists and setting up plays and stuff like that. But as a complete runner of the football, not the highest. Xavier Coates is having a good season currently right now, and Muzza is usually a good work rate out of his back end, not incredible. That New South Wales Blues back line just takes a massive tick in that edge. So 206 comparably to 146, guys. That is a massive tick for the Blues. And then over to the Maroons, I feel like the advantage for the Maroons, in my opinion, and I don't want to come off as like, it may sound disrespectful, and even like when you hear it, like you see some of the other players that the Blues have, because they have incredibly like smart players as well, but I feel like the Maroons team is more set up as skill, speed, and footy IQ. And when you actually take a look at the experience that a lot of these boys have had in Origin too, especially in that spine, I feel like that's where the Maroons definitely have their big tick coming into this one. So the way I kind of looked into this one too is judging on both the spines and how many try assists combined. And this is just a starting spine, so this is not even counting, because obviously the Blues don't have a 14 off the bench like what we have Harry Grant. So I took away Harry Grant from the argument here, and I just went the 1, 6, 7, and 9. The Maroons, as a combined, 30 try assists with that spine currently this year. All those individual players playing in club football, where the Blues at 26 is not too far behind, but majority of ours is coming through Benny Hunt, DCE. Surprisingly, only Walshy's only had 4 try assists this year, but we all know what Walshy can bring to a football side, and the speed that he has on the edge and the situations he puts himself into. And that's the way I'm sort of looking at these matchups here, guys, is I'm looking at the Blues as defense, meters, size. That's the 3 big pointers I'm looking at the Blues currently right now. I know the game plan, as we saw, everyone's pointing it out. Everyone can see it. It's not being hidden in any sort of way. They want to play through the front door. They want to bang that down, and also they want to defend as hard as they can. They got some of the best defensive players in the competition. Gerbo, Robson, Isaiah Yo's one of the best defensive players in the competition. Cam McGuinness, like all these boys. Critter is possibly the best defensive center in the competition. And then, like, as in fullbacks, like Dylan Edwards is definitely up there defensively. Liam Martin, Angus Crichton, Brian Toto is possibly, like, for me, the best defensive winger in the competition. I think Muzza is up there with him, but not to that avail. Like, you can see the game plan is going to come from, the Blues getting a ton of meters through the middle, getting to good positions, and then not allowing the Maroons to get themselves into attacking positions and to really cause Walshy to try and create something out of his own end. And that's where errors do come into avail. But then flip it on the other side, we definitely have got the smaller bodies. We got the speed. Like, you think of like players like the Hammer, Valentine Holmes, Selwyn Cobbo, Xavier Coates, even like Harry Grant out of dummy half. You got like Jeremiah Nenai as an edge back rower, as a very quick edge back rower, light on his feet. Jermaine Hopgood's not a big body coming off the bench as a 13, gets through a ton of work, and that has a very high work rate. we got the smaller bodies, but we definitely got the speed. We got the skill in a lot of these players, like the Hammer and Walshy. Selwyn Cobbo just pulls something out of nothing. DCE, the one, like, he's the most experienced half in both these sides coming into this game here. Benny Hunt, the amount of experience that Ben Hunt's had in the Origin arena and just in football in general, like as I said before, 16 try assists this year, Benny Hunt. Like, that's incredible. We have that as our number 9. Then we have Harry Grant coming off the bench. Like, we got like just skill, speed, and footy IQ across the park. And I feel like that's the way we need to win our game is, try to get over the Blues of like, if they're going to play this high work rate game and that really get it out of them, you know what I mean? Like, hope for them to really find areas where they start to find themselves on the back foot. And then when we find any opportunity to strike, especially with some of the best players here, I think, kicking game is where it's going to be at. And I think that we have some of the best kickers comparatively to the Blues, especially if they don't have Matt Burton in that side. And even then, Matt Burton's just a big boot. I don't think Matt Burton is incredibly good at, putting it in a very specific spot on the field. I reckon he's just really good at just getting that ball out of there. When we look at DCE, Benny Hunt, even Harry Grant, some of these kicks out at night, like, Tommy Dearden can do really well with a nice short kicking game as well. I think that we got some pinpoint kickers there. Benny Hunt's like 40-20 record's incredible. So is DCE's. That's where I think that we can change the game. Walshy's got a kicking game to him as well. It's really put the Blues on the back foot. If they want to play this high work rate sort of game of just meters defense and that, early kicks, fourth tackle kicks, turn them around. Like, that's the best way I could see the Maroons having a chance here. And again, guys, like, I'll be completely honest with you, coming into this game as a Maroons fan, this is like, I feel like it's a very 50-50 sort of game here. I could see some areas, and I reckon the Blues will come out really strong and fast and be really tough to handle. And it's all up to those Maroons, like, starting, middles there of like Cotter, Collins and Carrigan to hold it together as much as they can. So then our halves and our spine can really click into gear and really turn the game into our advantage with their kicking game and just their ruck deception, certain little things that the Blues currently don't have in the side. But I'm really, really excited for this Origin game because, yeah, there's so many different ways we can go about this. Moving on to the chat here, guys. Jackie here. Aussies would love to hate it, bro. Up the wahs95 for sure, bro. Jackson Ford. I like Paddy Carrigan. Such a great player. I love Paddy, bro. I think he's incredible. For me, I'm going to say with him and Isaiah Yeo and Cam Murray, he's got to be like, yeah, he's a top 3 lock in the game. I personally have him as the best lock in the game. I think he's incredible. Here we go. Wahs up TV, up the Wahs, 95. Burton Bomb special, but that's probably it. Yeah, you're not wrong, Ash. Doesn't have a great short kicking game. Yeah, and that's my honest opinion. But then you have, like, Jerome Luai has an incredible short kicking game. So maybe that's another area that he can pick up the slack there. Like, I think that Jerome Luai definitely has the upper hand in the spine for the Blues as in short kicking game. So if they bring Matt Burton in there, he's got that big bomb that can change the game as well, cause an error, stuff like that, and then they get field position that way. But other than that, when you look at, like, 40-20s, like, the ways to change the game, that's really where my thoughts are at currently right now on both these sides coming into this. Jackson Ford, when do you think Sam Walker will take over from DCE? I'm not too sure. My honest opinion with the Maroons is when DCE and Cam Munster, come away from the squad, I reckon Tom Dearden and Ezra Mann will be our halves pairing. And then it's really up to how Sam Walker goes currently. Because Sam Walker's had an incredible little period that he's had here. He's always had the potential. He showed it in little blocks before this, 3 to 4 game period with the Roosters currently right now. But before that, it was very inconsistent at moments. Like, he had some really, really good moments and obviously some really poor moments. And whether that came down to the structures of the Roosters and what's changed with the Roosters, that I feel like it's kind of also, tuning it back to the way the Blues are going to play their football is not so much link play through a lock in the middle. It's going to be straight off the ruck. And I feel like that helps Sammy Walker's game. I don't know if I'll see him in Origin just yet because Tommy Dearden's already got the shot there and Ezra Mann's in that 20 now. So I feel like there are 2 halves pairing coming into the future, but we could do a lot worse than Sammy Walker. I think Sammy Walker's incredible. So I just don't think it'll be anytime soon for Sammy at the moment, in my opinion. Tell you, bro, yeah, you're right there, Ash. It's a dangerous weapon to own trap and field position through. Yep, that's exactly it. Up the wahs 95, ruck deception is where they're going to miss Uppy, I think. Yeah, Robson's defense is good, though. And that's the thing. I think Madge is honestly just like, he's put his game plan out there, and I don't think he cares like that we know the way he's going to play football. And that's a scary prospect, because some of the best teams in the competition, they know, like the Panthers is, first of all, is a team that their game plan is very simple, very structured. They just go out there to do their business. But what makes them special is they know they can do it at a better click than everyone else. And if Madge can give that same like ego to this Blues side, as in like use the talented side, like you got Payne Haas, you got players like that, you know, Joseph Suolitis, you got these athletic phenoms, you know, Ola Kawatu, stuff like that, you know, Spencer Leniu again, like if you just go out there, play the game plan to the best of your ability, and just understand that as soon as you do that and you do it to the highest ability, the Maroons can't stop you. That's a scary prospect. So that's the way I see the Blues sort of running out there. I feel like Api Coruscant would have took away from that a little bit. Maybe as I've heard multiple times, is like Reece Robson is probably just going to be off the ground, or when he sees a running opportunity, he'll just take it. Where Api Coruscant, maybe he'll take a couple of more seconds, you know, setting up the markers, that little stuff, you know. So definitely two other ways to look at football, but they're going to play a lot of front foot footy, in my opinion, and like their halves are going to get it directly off the ruck, which I'm excited to see, because I feel like football's doing a full circle moment currently right now. We had the moment where lock middle link play became such a big flavor of the month, you know what I mean? Like flavor of the last 5 to 6 years, ever since Panthers really took over with that ball playing middle. I think, you know, Jake Trbojevic was one of the first of like bringing it back into the modern era of football, having that 13 being the link man, and then you had, you know, iterations on it, and then you got the Panthers with Isaiah Yeo pretty much running as, you know, he controls the middle, then links it out to the edges, and Nathan Cleary, Jerome Luai, you know, combine on those edges. So I feel like this is starting to become the new era of football, because when you watch the NRL, like rugby league currently right now, and I think Willie Mason was the best way to put it as well, when he said about those 13s taking a lot of the ball out of like the young halves, and like taking away from those young halves, which have grown up more majorly playing first off the ruck. Like we're going back to that now. Like see the Roosters when they were in incredible form, and like the big change with the Roosters was Victor Radley is not that link man anymore. Victor Radley's playing way more up and down, and Sammy Walker's playing first off the ruck, front foot footy. If you watch it, like when we played the Warriors, like we couldn't deal with it. As soon as they started to get the roll on, they had the athleticism, they had the boys on the outside, but as soon as you got Sammy Walker first off the ruck and he was just playing front foot footy, it just tears teams apart that way. And I feel like we're coming through a new cycle of football. You know, I feel like that's the best way you could sort of look at it. You look at the Broncos having Reece Walsh playing first off the ruck, that sort of stuff. Like, it's a scary, scary sight. You know, teams aren't defending for it because a lot of defensive systems are built around defending that link play through that middle forward, and it's changing a lot again. Like the Sharkies are good at it too. So that's where I'm starting to see, like, I think this might be the evolution of football. And it's like the old school football is coming back again. That's why I say it goes full circle. So it's really, really interesting way to think about it. Really, really is. Imagine Spencer Leniu running at Ezra, man. Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Tiny bro, powerhouse, Blues forwards. Yeah, powerhouse. Up the wahs 95, Queensland, simplicity and speed. Yep, New South Wales, size and strength. Yeah, simplistically, that's exactly the way to put it, honestly, is I feel like the Maroons is more this year is the experienced, you know, campaigners. There, you got the spine of, you know, DCE and Benny Hunt in the spine there that have played multiple Origins together. And then you got, you know, Harry Grant that's played multiple. You had Dearden in his second look at Origin now, but he's played it before. And then you got, you know, Reece Walsh out back. Then you look at, you know, the spine for the Blues. You know, Reece Robson's still new to the Origin arena. Jerome Luai is one of their most experienced campaigners there. Dylan Edwards first, you know, look in Origin, and then you got Nicho Hynes first proper starting part in Origin as well, unless they bring Matt Burton in there, and he's had one good shot at Origin as well. So you look at both those ways. The footy IQ on the Maroon side of like the experience and that is the big key for the Maroons here, especially when they know the speed of, you know, Origin football. They know that how they can change the game. You know, Benny Hunt's the real key to that for me. I feel like, you know, coming to the season, he's one of the most informed players too. Like, as I said, 16 try assists. Like, that is mental. I think he's topping the league currently right now for try assists. Like, and when I looked at it too, guys, there's an interesting stat that you can throw around in your pub chats or anything like that. like Dylan Edwards has more try assists right now than Walshy. I think it's only by 2, but Walshy this year, I know he's missed a couple of games for football, obviously, you know, with a little bit of injury, a little knee niggle and stuff like that. But, you know, 4 try assists for a guy that usually links up play so well. He has that 3-on-2 options, that, you know, that cut out ball is incredible. But Walshy only 4 try assists, like showing that he's taking a little bit more like running opportunities now too. So that's an interesting look coming into the Maroons. So that's a good one to throw around with you guys if you actually want to see who actually has a better try assist tally, Dylan Edwards or Walshy. It's actually Dylan Edwards. So it's awesome to have, you know, Benny Hunt there too. So yeah, that's my thoughts overall. Benji, excited for Dearden. Ain't the biggest, but the bloke can put on a shot. Yeah, and I feel like that's really what got him the edge over Ezra Mam in his jersey. Yeah, it's Ezra Mam, like, I think Ezra is going to be incredible, but it's only a couple of little tweaks that Ezra Mam needs to tweak into his game. Defensively, for sure, is really learn reads, start to get those down pat, because, you know, currently, like, I haven't rechecked the stats, but when I last looked into the stats between whether I was going to pick Dearden or Mam for the Origin squad, I'm pretty sure Ezra Mam had let in 11 tries this year, and I feel like it could have gone up over the weekend with the Titans, because I think the Titans were spotting up on him really, really nicely, which is, yeah, surprising in some aspects. Here we go. Come on. But yeah, it was 11 tries that he let in before this. We're about to see now. Ezra Mam. 5'8". And then defense. Tries conceded. It's now 12. And then when you look at Tommy Dearden's only led in 5 tries this year. This is on Fox League stats too, guys. So I feel like that's the only reason why Ezra is not there. If you go on attack for attack, like, Ezra definitely has a lot more in his bag, especially his athleticism. But yeah, like, I think Dearden's going to be incredible in Origin. And obviously, you know, that big highlight of him chasing down Selwyn Cobbo, that is an Origin play, and we all know it. Tell you, bro, should be interesting to see Shuali'i playing. So going to Origin, yeah, State of Origin, going to Union. His one series will be inspiration to put a massive performance in. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm excited because he's athletically, we know that he can handle it. I reckon he's going to go out there. He's going to have a great game. He's like, as a lot of people say, he's like that Israel Folau type mold of, like, you know, just that big athlete that, you know, is just dominant that way. So I don't think he's going to take too much of a back foot. I think defensively he's strong. He's got a strong hit on him. I don't read wise. He can be hot and cold. He can have some really, really good moments, and he can have some bludgers. But I feel like he's got a lot of that out of his game currently right now. Still young to the center position, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they switch Zach Lomax to the center and then has Suli'i, but I'm guessing with Madge, just judging on the team list by paper, I think he's just going to run out with that. So that's an interesting look before we get into Origin too. All right, guys, last but not least, we're going to move over to our Punters Paradise for the weekend. So before we jump into Punters Paradise, guys, I thought I'll also, you know, just say there's certain little things like, you know, before we jump in, make sure that if we're having a punt this weekend, gamble responsibly, please, guys. Obviously, you know, gambling can become an addiction and that. So obviously, you know, if you're going to gamble, please understand, just gamble responsibly and don't go too crazy overall. So, tips last week, I was 7 out of 8 last week with my tips. Only loss that I took on the weekend was the Broncos. Everything else I got up. I had the Dogs, I had the Cows, I had Manly, I had the Roosters, I had the Panthers, I had the Rabbits, I had the Broncos, and I had the Warriors. So obviously the Broncos was the one that let me down. So really, really great week in my opinion. Obviously, no one really saw the Broncos maybe getting beat by the Titans. Maybe like really hardcore Titans fans for sure, especially with the team that the Titans ran out there with. But yeah, 7 out of 8, not too bad. This week, obviously not a massive week of rugby league football, but excited to see, you know, teams run out there, put in their house on it, Mitchie. Love to see it. Jose, are you tipping the Eels this week, Ash? We'll get into that, my bro. First game of the weekend. We got the Eels and the Sharkies. So Obviously, big notable names back in for the Eels in this matchup. We got Mitchell Moses. We got Clint Gufferson. Ryan Madison looks like he's been a late inclusion. No, he's on the reserves here, so he's in the reserves. Will Benassini, Weremu Greg are all ins for the Eels coming into this weekend. Obviously, the only notable out is Jermaine Hopgood. And then when you look on the Sharkies side, we got, massive reserve list here that could change so many different things coming into this weekend. Braden Hemulin Uele, fuck, bro. Sorry, man. I've totally messed up that name. But Hemulin Uele is back in this weekend on the bench. Really, really excited to see him back in the matchup there. Obviously, coming back off injury. Big two notable outs, Gam McGuinness and Nicho Hynes. So, this one was really, really tough. And I feel like the way that I was looking at it was, Mitchell Moses, Clint Gufferson, Dylan Brown, that combination is back together again. The Eels, effort-wise, haven't been there. But, I can imagine Mitch Moses can spark. His energy is probably a good thing to have around the club, trying to get back into it. Brendan Hands is in that 9 jersey. No Lussick. Lussick has dropped out. He's been dropped this weekend. So whether that changes some things up, because I feel like Lussick's has a couple of really poor weeks. But then you look at the Shark side. I love the Sharky side all the way up to you look at that halves pairing, and Nicho Hynes is definitely a big one here. And this is really up to all those people that, there's a lot of people out there that I think Nicho Hynes is fairly overrated, you know what I mean? But it's really up to what your thoughts are here. It's going to be a massive weekend to see Braden Trindle back in football. Obviously coming off, the indiscretions that he's had. I won't really dive in too deeply into that because, the personal life, but, he needs to clean that area up in his life. That's his real troubles at the moment. But, the halves pairing of Atkinson and Trindle. Atkinson's actually been fairly strong for a player that I don't currently rate as a 6. But he's actually been really, really good. So maybe he's changing my mind overall, seeing him in first grade, seeing him in top competition. Really liking what he's doing. I love my boy Thomas Hazelton, Blake Brayley at 9, Britton Accorda. They got so much good talent in that side, but I feel like what lets them down this weekend is definitely the halves, that spine, when Mitchell Moses comes back. So I am going to sway the way the Eels this weekend. But if you want value, whether the Eels are going to take another week before they get back on the horse, I really can't see that. But if they're going to, $2.21 for the Sharkies, if you guys want to nibble on that, obviously being first place sitters currently right now. Moving over to the next game. So obviously, I just tipped the Eels there too, guys. So jump on the Eels if you're tipping the same way as me. Next game up, we got the Knights versus the Doggies. So obviously some massive outs for the Doggies here, especially for the players that have actually built that club and really turned the club around in most areas. So the big notable names, Matt Burton, Stephen Crichton, William Mikitgal. Those are 3 big outs, and I feel like 3 massive strike players that definitely can change the game. Having a halves pairing of Toby Sexton and Drew Hutchison doesn't really entice me a little bit. It feels, obviously Drew Hutchison has had an up and down year this year. I think the Doggies are going to be really, really tough. And I feel like this game is going to become a slugfest because, look at the side of the Knights, the way they've been playing their football over the last 4 weeks. They're 4-0. They've won every game since, KP's gone down. They've been playing a tough brand of football. But that's also where the Doggies are living their life at the moment. But I feel like what has helped the Doggies is just a tad is having those players of Stephen Crichton with the footy IQ that Stephen Crichton has on that edge, defensively especially, and then having William Mikitgal there just as a presence, that imposing figure of William Mikitgal. They're definitely going to miss that, even though Presto is an incredible player, and I'm really excited to see him get more minutes under his belt as well. I'm swaying the way of the Newcastle Knights in this matchup. We've seen Newcastle last couple of weeks get through grinding footy and get over the top sort of sides, but I wouldn't be surprised that the Doggies can really take it to the Knights here as well. I know they're missing Matt Burton, Stephen Crichton, William Mikitgal, but if you enjoy the value of 234, you can go on the Doggies. But currently, I'm going to tip the Knights, especially at home. I feel like home field advantage, McDonald Jones Stadium. Knights fans usually turn out there, so I'm going to Newcastle Knights in that matchup. Next matchup, we got the Panthers versus the Dragons, and the amount of outs in this game is hectic on both sides of the field too, guys. That's where I'm like, now we're looking at systems, and if we're looking at systems, there is no better system than the Panthers system currently. I feel like this is going to be a notable game for Shane Flanagan if he's able to get over the Panthers here, especially with Ben Hunt out, Jack Bird out, Jaden Stewart out, Zach Lomax out. those have been some of his most informed players, if not the most informed players out of that whole Dragons lineup, gone. You got Tyrell Sloan still out back there. Jesse Marshke, I rate as a footballer, but as a 7, I'm not too sure. Kyle Flanagan in that 6 role. He's going to have to step up and have a really big game here. Moses Sully has been really good lately, but when you look at that, Panthers side, even though they're missing, Brian Toto, Dylan Edwards, Isaiah Yeo, Jerome Lohe, Liam Martin, that is some massive, massive outs, but they still got Dane Laurie, who can have some massive moments at fullback. We've seen it with the Tigers early in his Tigers career, early his career with the Tigers. When he left the Panthers, went to the Tigers, he was really, really good, really, really good. And I'm sure the Panthers will get the best out of him. Jesse McLean's definitely a name to jot down in this matchup, guys. He's incredible. Got such a high ceiling. Him and his brother. He's got a brother too that's incredible as well. So watch out for him. Jack Cole, as you guys know, he's had a decent couple of weeks. Still very, very young, but got a ton of potential, a ton of talent. Brad Schneider has been named here. I'm not 100% sure if Schneider will play. I'm not too sure. I thought he was going to be out for a little bit longer of a period, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. You still got Moses and Fisher Harris up front. You got Mitch Kenny. You got Scotty Sorensen. Liam Henry on an edge is an interesting one. I don't know if he'll stick like that. You got Preston Rickey on the bench and Maverick Gaia. I feel like those guys will probably find a spot there soon too. And they'll probably go back to the belly. Henry or Lindsay Smith will probably go to the bench there. I'm going to sway the way of the Panthers. And even though there's a lot of big names still there for the Dragons, like Jack DeBella and Luciano Leilua, consistency has been the Dragons' problem. And the Panthers system just bleeds consistency. And, they get the best out of their footballers. So, even though all these notable outs and at Bluebet Stadium, I'm going to sway the way of the Panthers. But this is a big game for the Dragons. So, they could do this, even though, the Panthers got a ton of outs. They've still got a ton of outs as well on their end. If they can get this done, I think it's a big tick for Shane Flanagan. So, I don't want to make it look like, obviously, the Panthers are well under strength. The Dragons should get the win. No way. The Panthers system's incredible. So, but my tip is going to be the Panthers. It's going to be the Panthers for sure. Moving on to second last game of the weekend on your Saturday, we got the Dolphins versus the Raiders at KO at Redcliffe. Some big notable outs here of Felice Gafusi, the hammer for the Dolphins, and only Hudson Young for the Raiders coming into this matchup here. So going strength of lineup, you're probably going to sway the way of the Raiders, as in, players that are still around abouts there. But when you start looking at the sides head to head, I rate Trey Fuller. I think he's going to do a massive job there. If you look at a super coach player, he's definitely, if you held on to him, he's definitely another play for the next couple of weeks in Origin. I don't think they'll rush the hammer back anytime soon. He's had the hamstring issue earlier on this year. Going in Origin, I don't think Wayne rests these players as much as he can. You're still looking at the backline, Jermaine Asako, Herbie Farnworth, Jake Avarillo, Jack Bostock, incredible, as we saw last weekend. Herbie had an incredible game last week. You look at the halves pairing of Cody Nikarima and, Isaiah Katoa. Isaiah Katoa is in incredible form right now, especially for such a young half. The way he squares up a line is, incredible. For such a young half, he just looks like a 30-year-old half. He looks like he's, been around rugby league for, been around the NRL for about 10 to 15 years in such a young half's body too. Can move well. I'm really excited for this kid's future. And as I kind of touched on multiple times, if you're a Tongan fan, your Tongan squad with this kid at the helm is going to take a whole new level, especially with the experience that Wayne Bennett's putting in him right now and all the little skills that he's got. He's going to be incredible for the future. So in the halves pairing, I'll sway the way of the Dolphins, even though I feel like Ethan Strange is incredible as a 6. He's really stepped up, especially, again, being a young half, stepping up there. KO Weeks has been really, really solid for a player that I never rated as a halfback. I just feel like he's a good footballer. He's got a ton of speed, but his kicking game's come along so far in the last couple of weeks, and I feel like Ricky Stewart's definitely got a lot to do with that. Then you go through the forward pack. You'd sway the way of the Raiders with the forward pack pairings here, but you still, the Dolphins can hang in there with the best of them. Then you see your bench rotations, and I'll sway the way. Maybe it could be 50-50 there. I love Josh Kerr. Ray Stone. Good to see Ray Stone still there. Obviously, copping the knock on the weekend too. Looked like he was going to be out for ages. That arm did not look good, but he made the next tackle. That guy's incredible. Any names that could come in here late? I don't really see it. Not too many changes I can see here. Anthony Milford being on the bench. I don't know if it'll sit like that. I can maybe see Oren Keeley maybe getting onto the bench here. But then again, they don't really have a utility cover. So maybe Milford will stay there. I'm going to sway the way of the Dolphins. Oh, having second guesses. I see the value in the Raiders. I really do. I really do. Especially the way the Raiders are playing their football, like they did against the Doggies on the weekend too. Like, the way we beat the Dolphins is very similar to what the Raiders will probably play against the Dolphins here. So, you know what, guys? I'm going to go rogue. We're going to go the Raiders in this one. I'm going to go to Raiders. Yeah, we're going the Raiders. And then, last but not least, guys, we have got the Roosters versus the Cowboys. So, massive out, especially if you look on the Cowboys and comparatively to the Roosters. The Roosters, squad-wise, they just can fill in so many different positions with just top talent. Obviously, with the Roosters, they got no Angus Crichton, no Egan Butcher, no Joseph Suaalii, no Lindsay Collins, no Spencer Leniu. And then over to the Cowboys side, no Jeremiah Nanai, no Murray Taulagi, no Reece Robson, no Ruben Cotter, no Tom Dearden, no Valentine Holmes. It just feels like you're taking a lot of the heart and soul out of the Cowboys and you're going up against still a Roosters team, guys. Listen to this. Like, James Tedesco is still a fullback. Like, we're talking about an Origin player, like ex-Origin player, blue, Australian captain. Like, this guy's like a freak fullback. I know he's in later in his career, but he's still having a great year this year. You got Daniel Tupou and Dominic Young still as your wing pairing. You got Bonga and Joey Manu as your centers. You got Luke Keary and Sam Walker. So that's like pretty much an unchanged backline there. Obviously, no Suaalii to be in that center role, but pretty much barely unchanged backline there. Then you got Hardgraves and Terrell May. Terrell May is just leaps and bounds. Like his journey in the NRL, he's come so far. He's such a good player at the moment. Like, that cutout ball he threw in that Sharks game still blows my mind. Had the old, I was watching it with one of my close mates that, loves his touch football. And he's like, bro, he threw, one of the best, touch football cutouts as a front rower. Like, yeah, freak. And then you got Brendan Smith still there, 9. Nat Butcher, Victor Radley, and Nafahu Whites. That forward pack. Yeah, you could probably go Scotty Drinkwater's amazing fullback. Then other than that, you got Valia. We know Valia's potential, but whether you can hit that's the biggest thing for him. Cole Felt's still a good winger. He's not in any form that he used to be in. The halves pairing of Clifford and Townsend. I'm excited to see Clifford back in the first grade, see how he goes at the moment. He's been killing Q Cup lately, so excited to see that. Jordan McLean, Griffin Neame. Griffin Neame's a big watch in this game, especially up against Hardgraves and Terrell May. Griffin Neame's future is so high, like his potential so high. Helam Lukey, Fene Fuyaki, and Thomas McKaylee getting a 13 jersey. Like, it's just night and day difference in my opinion. So we're going to go the Roosters, guys. We're going to go the Roosters. If the Cowboys get it done over the Roosters here, it's going to be a massive tick for the Cowboys, and hopefully it will end up changing their season for the good. They're one of the Cowboys are definitely one of those sides at the moment that are looking to get back into form, especially with the amount of potential they have in that side. And last but not least, guys, as I said before, we're about to go through my Punter's Paradise, my value bet for the weekend. I've only got one this weekend, but hopefully this is one that will fill up your pockets with a ton of money. If you're going to gamble, guys, please make sure you gamble responsibly before I get through this. So, as I said before, I was switching back and forth on this Dolphins and Raiders game. So I saw the Raiders as high value, especially, when I first got on them, they were 238. I jumped on them head to head and put them in a multi together, guys. So we're going to go Raiders head to head, $2.30 there. Add that with Elliott Whitehead. I'm really excited to get, Elliott Whitehead has really changed the effort areas in the Raiders the last couple of weeks since he's been back in that lineup. He has that try-scoring pedigree as well too. He's had some really nice moments. And at $4.50, I feel like there's value there with Elliott Whitehead. Obviously, we'll be playing on that right side. Isaiah Katoa has defended really well on that right side there too. But I can see the Raiders following a very similar game plan to what we had and just start peppering that side and really go ham at them. If you want other value, you could probably go as probably the other side of the edge back row. You got Ata Mariota, unless they switch Elliott Whitehead to the left side. That should be a watch there too. But Elliot Whitehead, $4.50. I'm eating that up and putting that in my multi. And my last player there is Matty Tomoko, because I really do think that right edge is going to get attacked hard. So we're going to go Matty Tomoko, $2.55. So Raiders head-to-head, Elliot Whitehead, Matty Tomoko. All together, guys, that gets you $20.25. That's massive value. Chuck 10 on that. $200 there for you guys for your weekend. So hope you guys enjoy that. And that will be it for my next episode of Around the League with Ash. Thank you so much to all the normal viewers that come into the chat. Obviously, 57 viewers currently right now. Really, really excited for all the added viewers that we're getting here on Wahs Up TV. And I hope you guys are really enjoying the content that we are bringing currently right now. I feel like this channel has so much potential, as I keep saying, and all you guys are the reason for that. You guys always jump in, have a mad chat with me. Like, you guys are incredible, incredible. So, appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend here. Hopefully, you win up on my multi overall. And overall, guys, even though we're not playing this weekend, a massive win for the Warriors. Up the Warriors. We win the bye. And that should hopefully take us to around that, 9th, 10th, 11th spot. So really, really excited to see that over the weekend, and then hopefully get a really nice win when we get back to it. And also, guys, make sure you keep your eyes around the channel. We've got massive live streams coming up. Obviously, next weekend, we got All You Can Eat on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday, we're going to do a live watch along of the State of Origin. Me, Levon, and whoever else wants to jump on with us, come through. Watch the footy with us. It's going to get hectic. And I know the way I said, that game's probably going to be a grind fest. It's going to be brutal. I'm so excited to see this. As a Maroons fan, we love Origin. As Blues fans out there, you love Origin. It's going to be incredible. So appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Up the Warriors, up the Maroons. Let's go.